Welcome to the Fearless Podcast. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. In today's podcast, we are going to be covering a whole bunch of stuff, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Here, I'm going to real quick give you a brief oversight of what me and Dad are going to be diving into today. So let's get into it. Ever wondered if those energy drinks we consume daily might be causing more than just a burst of energy? In our first segment, we'll be exploring the shocking connections between energy drinks and the mysterious phenomenon known as brain drain. Get ready to rethink your next sip. But that's not all. Imagine fighter jets soaring through the skies piloted not by humans, but by artificial intelligence. The U.S. Air Force has launched its first ever AI-piloted fighter flight. Stick around as we discuss this groundbreaking development and its implications for the future of warfare. U.S. credit card debt reaching a historic high of $1 trillion. But wait, there's more. Have you ever questioned the authenticity of news stories? In an unexpected turn, mainstream media outlets find themselves facing the truth as a supposed kidnapping victim confesses to a startling hoax. And finally, we turn our attention to agriculture and ethics. Join us as we explore the demand of transparency in the use of GMO vaccines in organic livestock. A watchdog group is pushing for change, advocating an end to the don't ask, don't tell policy. All right, let's get on into it. All right, there we go.
Welcome back, y'all. How you doing, son?
Doing good. Hey, this is episode number
6.
This is absolutely exciting.
Episode number 6 of the Fearless Podcast. Welcome back. It's good to have all y'all, and we're going to jump right into the topics here. You know, we decided to do a little bit of a cornucopia of what's in the news for today's podcast. I got some interesting things coming up. We do want to thank the Angry American for having us on last night.
Absolutely. That was fun. A lot of fun.
And very enjoyable. So definitely check out the work over there at the Angry American. They're starting a podcast. And obviously Chris is a best-selling author. And it was a lot of fun. We appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with them. So I guess we'll get right into the whole energy drink debacle.
Yeah. I came across several articles today. I've been binge watching the Pimpcast and the Permaculture Pimpcast, and absolutely incredible podcasts. And I probably today I listened to about 3 or 4 of them, and I was getting really inspired to make more podcasts and different things like that. And
I like it.
Anyway, I was trying to come up with some different topics and everything, and then I saw just a bunch of these articles coming out, and I'm like, hey, it's really relevant, and it's kind of been on my radar here and there, and I'm like, I think other people would like to hear about it, or maybe just get some more information on it. So I was like, why not? Let's just dedicate episode number 6 of the Fearless Podcast and just get some of this information out to y'all.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea. So, so this whole energy drink craze, and then
it's crazy.
Yeah, there's organic energy. And here's what's really amazing is when we started Carnivore, I realized that I had brain fog, and I wasn't a large drinker of energy drinks like every day or anything, but I would drink the organic ones.
Like on occasion.
At the granary. Yeah, every blue moon, whatever. But now I'm cutting out all the sugar. So
great.
Let's see what this article has to say. They are all the rage these days as increasingly more people are guzzling them down before class or before rigorous workout at the gym. But just how safe really are popular energy drinks like Monster and Red Bull? not to mention the dozens of other fly-by-night brands that have appeared in recent years. Well, Monster and Red Bull are absolutely terrible for you.
And I can't tell you like how many just cowboys and country boys that I see like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, cracking one open.
That's what I was going to say.
And swigging it down. It's incredible, y'all.
I can't believe 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll see
it's incredible
guys on the job site
nuts
gunning Monster.
And the saddest thing is like they won't even drink water. They will only drink that stuff.
It's
and
crazy.
I'll tell y'all one thing. I have never had a Red Bull before and don't really want to try it out.
Well, and it's like drinking battery. It's just the worst tasting trash. It's just high fructose. It's disgusting.
These instant like gratification and instant type of drinks that will give you instant energy. Yeah, okay, they might, temporarily help you out, but the long term like consequences, like dude, it's gonna be nuts. And we don't even know. Like this stuff is just like all of a sudden kind of popped territory. Up. So we don't even have like long term studies or anything on this stuff.
That's the majority of postmodern American culture is, relatively speaking, 90% of our food is relatively new with all these seed oils and all these ultra processed things. Like we have no concept of what the long-term effects are because they haven't even been out long enough to even determine that. It's just these new titrations. So the answer is that these chemical-laden beverages are not that safe after all, and here's why. For one, most of them are loaded with caffeine, which Omar Elowa, a registered pharmacist in Wisconsin, says gives a false source of energy. You're getting more than what your brain can take, Elowa says. It will be detrimental in the long term to memory, the aging of the cells, depletion of nutrients, and it makes you not want to eat, so it affects metabolism as well. Yikes, who would have thought that energy drinks could cause brain drain, considering they seem to perk people up and make them more alert? But it gets worse. According to a 2020 study published in the Anatomy and Cell Biology journal, caffeinated energy drinks can cause neurodegenerative changes in the hippocampus, a brain region essential for long-term memory.
Dang.
Now, we do have a special guest on that has hippocampus damage.
It's because the interior of the Earth is extremely hot, several million degrees.
Several million degrees.
Of the Earth.
Thanks, Al. Thanks for contributing.
Several million degrees.
Al has drank many energy drinks. Then there is the excessive sugar and artificial sweeteners often found in energy drinks, which, depending on their forms, can cause insulin resistance. In turn, cells throughout the body, including brain cells, lose their ability to properly absorb glucose, which is how metabolic syndrome forms. Chemical food colorings and dyes in energy drinks linked to ADHD. If left to run its course unchecked, insulin resistance will eventually develop into brain degeneration in the form of dementia. And the increased oxidative stress, a 2021 study published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences, found only further accelerates neurodegeneration. Energy drinks are often packaged in aluminum, a neurotoxin that's been linked to Alzheimer's disease, notes Dr. Aruna Tumala, an integrative psychiatrist at Trinergy Health. Hey, has anybody else noticed, like when you read these different articles and doctors being quoted, that every single doctor is not English or American?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. And so I don't know if y'all are experiencing that, but the more things I read, I don't think there's any real doctors in America anymore. Just curious. Maybe it's anecdotal. I don't know. A 2012 meta-analysis found that around 8% of children with ADHD experience symptoms associated with the consumption of artificial food dyes. Symptoms that oftentimes go away, by the way, once a child stops consuming them.
No way.
Then we have all the fatigue, insomnia, and headaches that arise from consuming too many energy drinks. It is widely known and recognized that both sugar and caffeine cause a high followed by a crash. It can feel good at first, but then not so much. Keep in mind that caffeine is also a diuretic. People who consume energy drinks before rigorous exercise absolutely must make sure they consume plenty of water and electrolytes to replenish. Otherwise, they could suffer from serious dehydration.
That's actually what I'm drinking right now. I'm drinking some Relight and
Redmond's Relight?
Redmond's Relight, not sponsored, but
delectable.
It is incredible, though.
Actually, we are Redmond affiliates.
But we are Redmond affiliates.
So
there you go.
We do appreciate the product.
Yeah.
We use.
So will there be a link in the description?
If you put it there,
dude. Okay, we're gonna have to put it down there.
We have.
Do we have a discount code or no?
Yes, there's a discount code. I think y'all get like 10 or 15% off.
Sorry, we're dropping the ball on that.
Shameless plug. Okay.
Shameless plug. So if you want some, get your electrolytes.
Relight.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing is that I have been noticing though is, and I've been actually hearing this on the Pimpcast too. He said when you actually start drinking your electrolytes, actually you don't have to consume as much water too.
Correct.
You know, so it's, and I've totally seen that. I'm not as thirsty when I drink, drink some water with some electrolytes in it. But then I was actually on a job. It was about an hour away from the house, and you know, full day in the sun, and I didn't bring any electrolytes with me. And I mean, I went through bottles and bottles of water just trying to actually just feel like I'm hydrated and just forcing myself to drink water. But, you know, whenever I drink this stuff, I just feel hydrated, which is so awesome. But
many claim that you will sweat less.
That's what I heard too. That's what they were saying.
I sweat a lot. So
I know.
I haven't seen that yet. And it's been 110 degrees every day for the last 30 days or so.
My truck was reading 115 this afternoon. I'm talking that's next level.
Miss Molly. It's hot, y'all. Energy drinks can increase the level of catecholamines, neurotransmitters involved in the body's stress response. Reports further explain about the anxiety-inducing effects of energy drinks. The spike in these chemicals increases heart rate and blood flow, triggering a fight or flight response in some people, leading to anxiety. Sounds like a bad meth trip, y'all. Not that I've ever taken meth, but
you've heard stories.
I do live in Northeast Texas, and
there's a lot of meth labs.
I've seen plenty of meth.
We were at funny story. We were actually working for a guy actually, and right across the street there was a trailer, and then there was another house behind it and a little shed, and we always were joking. We're like, oh yeah, that's the meth lab over there or whatever. And anyway, so there was the trash guy came to take their trash or whatever, and they had started a fire in front of their little like mobile home or whatever. And right next to the mobile home there was a really trashy shed that was connected to the mobile home. And then somehow the fire had leaped from just like the little fire where they were burning their trash in front of their mobile home, had jumped from like the front of there on to the shed beside it. And they were just sitting in there, you know, doing whatever.
Dope nut.
You know, and it was literally totally on fire. And the trash guy came running in and being like, yo, your thing's on fire. And they're like, oh yeah, we know it's on fire, man. It's fine. Right. It'll be fine. And anyway, so he called the fire department. And by the time they came out, he finally yanked them out of the mobile home, and while it was burning, the whole thing was like inferno. You could hear explosions inside. They're going boom, boom. Just we're like, it was totally a meth lab.
Nice. Welcome to the back rows of East
I know,
Texas.
it's so awesome. It's so great.
It's great. Life's an adventure. So, next article. U.S. Air Force launches first ever AI piloted fighter flight as American military pivots to humanless warfare. You didn't think I was close enough to the mic, son?
But this totally has to happen because you're having all these, trannies, and everything, and they're all, they're doing their deal.
Trannies?
Yeah.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
Perfect. See, and anyway,
I told you.
Anyway, and actually, there was somewhere that they were saying there's like less and less people are actually joining the military. I'm like, no way, shocker.
Yeah,
so they're they're getting forced into having to make everything AI. Because, who in the world wants to even go to the military nowadays with everybody that gets raped in the military? It's absolutely
sad.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's an
And
abomination.
they
of
let all
desolation.
these trannies and gay people in there.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
And there's guys getting raped by other guys. And it is disgusting.
It's a
and
dumpster fire.
Then you got to get a shower with a transgender person.
It's like Caligula's temple in there.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
And
It is ma'am.
that's happening in the shower. And it's nuts, y'all.
It's
bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Postmodern
It's bad.
deconstructionism.
Bad.
So for the first time, the United States military has successfully flown a fighter plane using artificial intelligence, meaning no human soldiers necessary.
And this was their first time, too. Is that amazing?
Well, now, they were doing this in the Barry Soetoro administration, right? And this is the way that they were basically allowed to kill innocent civilians because they would say, oh, we're using an facial recognition AI software to select targets, right? This way, there's always plausible deniability. If you understand...
It's the robot's fault.
Yeah, if you understand
the robot's
rings
fault.
of
Sorry.
power...
Whoops, we just dropped a nuke over there. Sorry about that. That was AI glitch.
And how different is that than it's Joe Bribin's fault? I mean, it's the same thing. But
Come on.
the Air Force reportedly flew an XQ-58A Valkyrie unmanned plane out of Florida's Elgin Air Force Base on July 27th. A statement issued by the Air Force Research Lab states that the AI algorithms uploaded into the jet allowed it to fly for 3 full hours before safely landing. In partnership with Kratos, the Air Force Research Lab reported that it took millions of man hours. Oh, I thought they were going to say millions of dollars. Millions of man hours to create
that too.
the AI algorithms and associated simulations.
It's because the interior of the Earth is extremely hot, several million degrees.
Several million
And the crust
degrees.
of the Earth
Thanks, Al. To make the project a success, AI will be a critical element to future war fighting and the
Great.
speed at which we're going to have to understand the operational picture and make decisions, announced Brigadier General Scott Kane, the research lab commander. I enjoy when these postmodern word soup salad people say these things that mean absolutely nothing. AI will be a critical element to future warfighting and the speed at which we're going to have to understand the operational picture and make decisions.
What is that even?
Nice word soup.
It's like it's like when Kamala Harris
Wait,
talks.
I'm a
it's like,
brigadier general. It must make sense. It's like,
what in the world?
wow, that's some crazy nonsense. AI, autonomous operations, and human machine teaming continue to evolve at an unprecedented pace, and we need the coordinated efforts of our Gubermant, academia, and industry. Wow, that sounds like total communism. Partners to keep peace. Oh, we must kill. War is peace. Thank you, Orwell. War is peace. We need to effectively, autonomously, using AI, blow people up to keep peace.
Yeah.
Will the U.S. military eventually become an army of AI robot soldiers? I mean, 110%. Of course, because with all the trannies.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
You know, the funniest thing, too, is when he is saying that, he's like saying it in the most manly voice. It's almost like he's a guy pretending to be a woman. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The reason the Valkyrie was chosen for the project is that it is a reusable unmanned plane that was specifically designed to be far less costly than its traditional counterparts, human piloted or otherwise.
Well, I'm glad it's reusable.
The successful now, you know, and here's the thing about AI drones and AI planes. You know, we actually Chris actually mentioned this on the Angry American, that an AI plane is going to be far more ruthless and reckless because it has no concern for its own life or continuance.
Yeah, that's very true.
So it can do very rogue things.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you could always blame it on some virus, you know, or you could blame it on China.
China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China. China.
China.
It's true.
So the other thing, too, is that, you know, our world is not, you know, it's very hard to predict, and there's so many things. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of my grandparents getting on a plane and, you know, everything's going fine and everything, and then they go to land, and then there's another plane coming up the runway. And then what do you have to do? It's like last second decision. Then he has to bail, you know, and if there's any glitch in the matrix, it's going to be a head-on collision, or just, you know, even with all of the radio and the super high-tech gear, you know, they still can't yet, like, you know, clear the runway for a plane, you know?
It's crazy.
It's nuts. And then
the successful July 25th flight put a capstone. That's a quote. Put a capstone. And that's a quote in a very Illuminati type, all-seeing eye kind of way, to quote Stripes on the multi-year partnership that began with the Skyborg Vanguard program. Can these guys at least
what in the world
find ultra non-dystopian titles for
Skyborg,
their Skynet dystopian? I think I got a hamburger in my teeth, y'all. And it was tasty, but according to reports, the plane was rocket launched from a rail system and controlled from either a ground station or airborne fighter. The plane's onboard computer system was used to determine the best flight path and throttle settings to obey its input commands. Defense News reported that the 2-year project involved a team of personnel from both the lab and the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, whose goal is to create an unmanned fighter aircraft controlled by AI. This sortie officially enables the ability... I don't know what the term sortie means, but they spelled it S-O-R-T-I-E. This sortie officially enables the ability... Maybe it's a military term. I don't know.
No, maybe.
Officially enables the ability to develop artificial intelligence and machine learning agents that will execute modern air-to-air and air-to-surface skills that are immediately transferable to the CCA program, said Colonel Tucker Hamilton, Chief of AI Test and Operations with the Air Force. That's some kind of military term. Known as a Collaborative Combat Aircraft, or the CCA program, the ultimate purpose behind the research and test flights is to create a fleet of combat drones that can operate without the need for actual human pilots. Think Planet of the Machines. Oh, great. Futuristic sci-fi films from the past depicted this kind of thing with a dystopian bent. And now we are seeing it come to life.
Nuts. Right
here in the good old US of A, which is on a fast track towards becoming an AI-driven society. The mission proved out a multi-layer safety framework on an AI ML flown uncrewed aircraft and demonstrated an AI ML agent solving a tactically relevant challenge problem during airborne operations. Colonel Hallenson further added, this sortie officially enables the ability to develop AI ML agents that will execute modern air-to-air and air-to-surface skills that are immediately transferable to other autonomous programs. Dr. Terry Wilson, the program manager at AFRL's Air Combat Operations, which developed the AI algorithms, further commented that so far, the multi-pronged approach to uncrewed flight testing of machine learning artificial intelligence has met operational experimentation objectives as desired by the Air Force. So thank you, Air Force, for your service. Thank you for the inordinate consumption of billions of taxpayer dollars that we don't have. Yeah. Also wanted to thank the military-industrial complex for sending billions of arms, automatic weapons, tanks, and aircraft to the proxy war in the Ukraine.
Thank you.
A hat tip to Volodymyr Zelensky.
And enslaving my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren.
The naked comedian. We just want to thank him for his service as the president, on par with Joe Biden. I think they're drinking buddies.
Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
Now, this next article is rather telling about our current state of events and affairs.
Yeah.
U.S. credit card debt rises to historic high of $1.03 trillion.
That's just for the U.S.
And that's just credit card debt. Yeah,
just credit card debt.
That's unbelievable.
That's hard to even wrap my mind around.
And when you take in, I'm pretty sure it was last year that student loan debt passed $1 trillion. So this debt bubble continues to grow. And this is in large part due to a lot of people that are either forced out of work, they're underpaid, so they're filling in the gaps with credit cards. And total credit card debt is over $1 trillion. This is according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, which noted that total credit card debt rose by nearly 5%, or about $45 billion. During the second quarter of 23. So just during the second quarter, credit card debt rose $45 billion. This is the highest gross value in Fed data going back to 2003. The Fed noted in its credit report that the rise in credit card balances is a reflection of more robust consumer spending, as well as significantly higher prices caused by inflations. As credit card use grew in the previous quarter, so did the delinquency rate. Now, what I want to do is I want to pause for station identification for all y'all that haven't amassed large amounts of credit card debt.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you to our sponsors.
Today's podcast is sponsored by thetexasboys.com. If you want some absolutely delicious farm products, go on over to thetexasboys.com, where we sell our unvaccinated, unpasteurized raw honey, and it has all the yummy vitamins and minerals in it. But also we have our bulk tea. We have several different kinds of bulk tea that we sell over on thetexasboys.com, and our ever-growing coffee line, from flavored coffees to absolutely just some good old-fashioned, your Columbia Supremo and your Justice Espresso. And then also we branched into our CBD coffee line. It's 100% organic. It's the CBD is grown literally 30 minutes from my house, and it's absolutely incredible stuff, and none of the junk in it. It's just straight organic infused CBD coffee, and the coffee that's in with the CBD is out of this world amazing. Also, our Lion's Mane coffee is super scrumptious, and your brain absolutely loves it. So if you're getting all that brain fog, instead of swigging one of them energy drinks, you know, and you're getting that brain drain, hey, you can swig some Lion's Mane coffee, and you're going to know what's up. So, and also, head on over to the Butcher Shop if you are local or close to the Northeast Texas area. We are selling unvaccinated, grass-fed, grass-finished pork and beef, and we are selling whole cows, whole pigs, half cows, whole half pigs, quarter cows, and quarter pigs. So, hopefully you can find something that you love over at thetexasboys.com. And also, before we get back on into the show here, remember to leave a review on this podcast. It helps us tremendously because the one percenters absolutely hate this podcast. They hate the Fearless podcast. As you can see on our YouTube channel, they love desubscribing people over there. But just give us a rating, and it helps push this podcast out. And with all that said, y'all, let's get back on into the podcast.
So the Fed noted that the delinquency rate measured by people whose credit card debt is 30 days or more late in payment rose to 7.2% in the second quarter, up from 6.5% in the first, and the highest recorded delinquency rate since the first quarter of 2012. So we're watching all these economic indicators continue to accelerate into this Great Depression. You know, it's going to be a really long, slow burn. There's been so much quantitative easing, so much paper printing. It's just, there's such a glut of paper in the system. It's taking so long to shake out. But we're watching all of these tremors.
And then like $1 trillion on top of all that. Like, that's $1 trillion that like nobody has. Like,
yeah, well, not only that, I mean, when I was your age, no one could even fathom $1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
Yeah, we couldn't get out. We couldn't even fathom $1 trillion, and now it's just like, oh, $1 trillion here, $1 trillion. Oh, yeah. Ukraine needs $1 trillion.
$1 billion. Sure,
yeah, no
why
problem.
not?
It's
so sad
they
that
monkeyed with the numbers so bad. Overall debt in the U.S. saw little change, with the rise in credit card debt being the most notable. Total household debt only rose by about $16 billion to $17.06 trillion. Newly originated mortgage debt rose by $393 billion, with overall mortgages nudging lower to just over $12 trillion. Yeah, that's because that base, you know, the 30-year fixed rate is right at 8% at 7.99. Auto loans increased by about $20 billion to $1.5 trillion.
Auto loans? What?
And student loans decreased slightly to $1.57 trillion. Now, I remember last year when student loans went over $1 trillion, and since then they are at $1.57 trillion.
Dang. Wow.
Just ahead of the upcoming lifting of the payment moratorium. Despite the grim report, researchers for the New York Fed claim that the economy is still relatively stable. Yeah, cool story, bro.
Yeah, for real.
Despite the many headwinds, American consumers, and these are the guys that are steering the ship, man, this is crazy. Despite the many headwinds American consumers have faced over the last year, higher interest rates, post-pandemic inflationary pressures, oh yeah, it was the pandemic's fault, and the recent banking failures, there is little evidence of widespread financial distress for consumers. Yeah, just like at the Silicon Valley Bank, that had just passed all of its financial stress tests and metrics, and there was little evidence of financial distress at Silicon Valley Bank the week before it folded up and disappeared and evaporated.
Wow.
So that's kind of interesting.
Dink.
But trust the experts.
Trust the science.
It's a technocracy. They would never lie to you.
Oh, yeah, never.
Credit card debt likely to keep rising as U.S. economic situation deteriorates. The New York Fed notes that delinquency rates are still relatively low by historic standards, but rising balances may present challenges for consumers going forward, as many expect to end up spending more each month this fall. If your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep will be your downfall. That's something my dad told me. So
There you go.
Words of wisdom for the day, particularly when student loan payments resume. The resumption of student loan payments will be a huge test for many card holders, shrinking the amount they have to devote to paying off credit card debt and leaving some people simply unable to make minimum payments at all, warned Matt Schultz, chief credit analyst for online lending marketplace LendingTree. $1 trillion in credit card debt is staggering. Unfortunately, it is likely only going to keep growing from here.
Yep.
Jolly Scaley, regional economic principal in the New York Fed's Research and Statistics Group, noted gloomily that delinquency rates are actually normalizing to pre-pandemic levels. Furthermore, not only are credit card debt balances higher, but more cardholders are carrying debt from month to month, adding to the financial strain being experienced by American consumers. If all of a sudden you have to start making $400 or $500 monthly student loan payments again, that could directly or indirectly lead to more credit card debt, noted Ted Rossman, senior industry analyst at consumer financial services company Bankrate. So there you go. So, and they're all saying as soon as the student loan moratorium is lifted, these numbers are going to jam. So it sounds like another tsunami is coming, just another straw on the camel's back to collapse the system, you know, the
mega
rules
pop.
for radicals here.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the wolves that are watching the hen house and controlling that lending rate and, you know, making hyperinflation go to the moon, they're good at their job. They're doing a great job. Good job. So,
I thought this was a really funny article because I don't know how many people saw that, but this lady, which, I mean, it doesn't take the brightest.
Are you sure it was a lady?
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
Well,
It is ma'am.
okay. Well, I haven't personally asked they. Just joking. Yeah, she's a woman. Anyway, but I mean, it wouldn't take the brightest bulb in the shed to figure out that the whole thing was a hoax, and that the family was totally in it, the mom and the dad, and they just wanted to get on the internet, on the news channel.
On the lame stream.
Anyway, you can read about. Let's read on into this. This was pretty funny.
Once in a blue moon, fake news outlets have to admit they published a story that was fake, including a complete hoax. No, mainstream media is not admitting they published 2 years of fake Trump-Russia collusion, but they are having to admit that a nursing student lied about being kidnapped for days only because the woman admitted herself that it was all a hoax. That's right. Carly Russell, a woman who went missing for 2 days, suddenly appeared back at home and admitted to detectives she had concocted the entire kidnap story out of thin air. Here's what she had claimed happened when she first called a 911 dispatcher.
Listen to this.
Russell told the 911 dispatcher that she found a toddler wandering on the side of the interstate in Alabama. She got out of her car to rescue the child when a man who emerged from the trees near her car abducted her and forced her into an 18-wheeler truck. He then blindfolded her and took her to a home where a man and a woman told her to get naked. Then they took photos of her. Then she said she somehow escaped the abusers and ran through the woods all the way back home.
Wow, what a story.
And what was fascinating to me is I was watching excerpts from Project Mockingbird and them all saying how this girl was abducted, and the most crackhead thing and the biggest telltale sign is like they're telling the story. Oh, this girl saw this toddler, right? And then
they have footage of the car.
Well, they had footage of the car. There was no signs of a toddler, but the toddler was never brought up again.
That was the worst part about it.
Yeah, it had everything to do with
the chick. And I'm like, dude, what's up with the baby?
Yeah, what about the toddler?
Walking like along like a 4 or 5 lane
interstate
highway,
and they literally had no concern for a toddler along an interstate. But
forget about that.
This lame story.
We need to talk about the black lady right here. She just got abducted.
Of course, now she admits all of this was a lie. Police had found clues when they checked the roadside and found her car, her wig, and her cell phone. The fabricated hoax made national headlines as fake news MSM gobbled it up and published it for the world to see. Social media went crazy, trying to garner awareness for this happening. Now she has an attorney telling the press it was all fake, but she could face criminal charges for wasting police time and efforts on a hoax. She did all for attention. Is she mentally ill? This is not the first hoax that went viral, and it surely won't be the last. No. Supposed kidnap victim says she was in town the whole time. After 2 full days and nights of being fake kidnapped, the woman apologized through her lawyer for her selfish actions that wasted time and valuable Hoover Police Department resources while causing emotional trauma for her community. Nobody knows where she stayed during the fake kidnapping, but she says she acted alone and did not have help. Nurse to be or not. How would you like this chick to be your nurse? Ooh. She's a Riri. Russell had prepared for the hoax in several ways. Investigators discovered afterwards that she made several internet searches trying to find out how to pay for Amber Alerts and how to steal money from a store cash register without getting caught.
Stupid.
She also watched several clips from the kidnapping movie Taken to figure out some interesting parts of her elaborate lie. She even called a relative at the onset of the hoax to let them know about the fake wandering toddler on the highway. Now, this Mensa Club participant, would you really want this person to be a nurse? I'm very surprised she can tie her own shoes.
Scary, man. Scary. And when she would also, I remember this too. They said when she was on the phone with the police, just like in the movie, the whole scenario, she copied it right from the movie. And when the lady in the movie got abducted or kidnapped, she screamed and dropped her phone or whatever. So she screamed and dropped her phone to the T. Everything that happened in the movie, she took it and did it in reality.
Now the blazing question that I have is why? I mean, just for social media attention?
I think so.
But as soon as you get ultimately busted, you look like the world's biggest dope.
Idiot. Yeah.
And your parents look like complicit idiots in your entire idiotic scheme that wasn't even for the sake of procuring money.
Yeah, it's weird.
Why wasn't there's no fight? What was the motivation?
I love when they were getting interviewed on one of these fake news outlets, and they were asking them questions, and they were like, I'm sorry, we can't talk about this. But they're interviewing them about it. They're like, yeah, we can't talk about this. And it's but you came on the interview. You wanted to get interviewed, but you can't go into detail about certain things. Yeah, she just doesn't want to talk about that right now.
So far, no criminal charges have been filed against Russell for the serious wasting of police efforts while they could have been saving other people's lives from tragedy or locking up criminals and getting them off the street.
For real.
There's not a lot of that stuff going on anyway, so why not play part in some idiotic scheme that does absolutely nothing but waste everybody's time? And then at least Mockingbird Media has something to talk about.
Exactly.
That fits their postmodern social construct.
Yeah, they get something other than talking about Trump's indictment, so... I was literally over at a neighbor's house fixing up her stuff or whatever.
Uh-oh.
And y'all, I went over there and they had like MSNBC or whatever playing full blast.
CNN.
I can't believe these people. And, you know, they're ultra left libs. And, you know, they're sweetest people in the world. Absolutely love them. But there are these people that will leave their TVs running all day long, full blast.
Yeah.
And she's like on the phone, like while we're there, and it's blasting. She can't barely hear the person on the phone that she has on speakerphone. I'm like, just turn it down or like
Mirror.
pause it or something or turn it off or whatever. And literally for like 2 hours while we were there, me, James, and Buddy fixing, doing stuff in and out of her house. We were actually installing her stove, her gas stove. And they literally talked about Trump's indictment for like 2 hours straight. And then the day previous we went there, they were talking about the same thing. And they just keep repeating the whole time, just like, yeah, Trump's a really bad guy. You know, bad Trump, gotta get him locked up. Gotta get him locked up.
You're installing a gas stove?
Yeah.
And do you realize the irony that the political construct of her party wants to ban the gas stove
but
that you're installing in her house?
I mean, it was a beautiful gas stove.
Rules for me, but not for thee. That's interesting.
Very true. Very true.
So
the irony.
It's always
super
syrupy, thick.
It is so thick.
Delicious.
Yeah,
irony.
I know.
Welcome to Postmodern Clown World 2.0.
For real.
Okay, our last article for today is Watchdog Group. The U.S. must end don't ask, don't tell policy on GMO vaccines in organic livestock. Organic Eye, an agribusiness watchdog, has demanded that the U.S. hold a public hearing on the use of Mr. Nah and
mRNA
and other genetically engineered vaccines in organic livestock production, or else the agency would face litigation. Organic Eye warned that the continued use of GM products violates the legal definition of organic. The request comes after reports revealed that the U.S. and some organic certifiers have done nothing while commercial livestock producers started using genetically engineered vaccines.
Like vaccines weren't already bad enough. You got to have genetically engineered, modified, monkeyed with ones.
That's how they do it. And this is why we raise our own beef.
Exactly.
This is why we sell our own beef. This is why you need to know your farmer.
Yeah.
This is why y'all need to source your own meat. I mean, if you're going to eat nutrient-dense food,
you can't trust the stupid organic label.
You can't trust
the labels. You don't know the farmer.
You don't know the farmer. You can't trust the labels.
A lot of this grass-fed, even grass-finished beef, a lot of them, I was talking to Mr. Larry, what they'll do is they'll have these feedlot cows all their life on a feedlot. Yep. Nasty, disgusting.
K-fo.
And for 30 days, they'll go put them out on pasture.
Yeah.
And I see this all the time, even around here. They'll have that, they'll have them, like 1,000 of them. It looks like.
We got a CAFO pretty close to here.
And then, for the last 30 days or whatever, they'll let them out into their beautiful roundup pasture, and then they can sell them for like double the price for grass-fed, grass-finished beef, just because they were on grass for 30 days. Yep. Big old loophole.
One significant difference between conventional and organic food is the organic label's strict prohibition on GM farm inputs and ingredients, as detailed in the Organic Food Production Act of 1990. Wisconsin, don't you know? Organic Eye warned that instead of enforcing this rule, the U.S. has sanctioned a don't ask, don't tell protocol that was pushed by Big Ag, which allows producers to administer genetically engineered vaccines to animals and still market them as organic. So how do you like that, y'all? And you're going to pay double for that U.S. organic label.
And still going to have the Mr. Nah in it.
And,
Nuts.
I had a customer, great customer, and they emailed us and said, hey, I got this coffee and there's no USDA organic label and it's required. And I said, look, we cannot, our micro roaster that makes the CBD in the lion's mane, he cannot, nobody can pay the $40,000 a year for that USDA stamp.
Stupid.
And so it is what it is.
And then you got to like jump through all the stupid hoops and everything.
Yeah.
Man, it's nuts.
It's wild.
It's a rigged system.
It's a mafia racket scheme.
It is.
That is run by the
rules for thee
criminals.
and not for me, and they will do whatever the heck they want. But the little man, you got to do 8 billion things and you got to pay $8 trillion. And if we come and inspect your place and that we find one little thing that you haven't perfectly done to the T, shut you down, lock you up.
Yeah, just ask Amos Miller.
Yeah,
I'm going to check on him.
I want to get an update on him.
Yeah, we haven't looked into that
for real.
About 6 months. I'd be curious of where that's all.
Yeah, how his business is doing.
Barnes is taking over that case to see what the settlement is. We'll look into that. Organic Eye said that it is unacceptable for the USDA to delay dealing with this highly controversial issue. The agribusiness watchdog said that the USDA's National Organic Standards Board must conduct a meeting of all stakeholders, not only with industry interests who want these vaccines, but also with farmers. These people have the right to be heard, said Katzel. By default, synthetic materials are banned in organics unless they have been explicitly permitted because they are considered essential to production and have been evaluated and determined to be safe for human health and the environment. Congress created the NOSB in the 90s to recommend industry standards for regulating these materials. The NOSB is a powerful advisory board, and the USDA cannot allow synthetic substances in organic production unless the board specifically approves and recommends them. Fly, y'all.
I know. He's like,
I feel like an organic turd right now.
Literally.
The NOSB was designed to represent stakeholders from all over the organic industry, including small farmers and consumers. However, the board has been misused and is now increasingly dominated by powerful agribusiness lobbyists, eventually becoming increasingly subordinate to agribusiness orders. Well, and there's all this global consolidation of agribusiness, with these Brazilian and these transnational corporations absorbing all of these production manufacturers. It's rather incredible the way that these mega national corporations continue to consolidate, and they've been able to
bigger and bigger
consolidate and bigger. Even faster after all the COVID bucks that got handed out. But there's nothing to see here, y'all. Castell said the first question that must be investigated is whether vaccines are essential for livestock. After all, they are usually not required in livestock production unless there are state regulations about the interstate transportation of livestock. Despite this, many producers, especially those in industrial agriculture, continue to vaccinate their animals to mitigate risks. Oh, thank you. According to Katzel, a USDA hearing would allow the public to investigate if there is any reasonable justification for anybody other than those involved in controversial livestock production for the use of vaccines. Katzel also suggested that animals don't need vaccines, particularly those cared for in a healthy environment.
No
with
way.
Plenty of outdoor access and pasture for ruminants like beef and dairy cows on family scale farms.
Wow.
So you should be buying from anyway.
Yeah.
What this is also explaining is the unsustainability of highly metropolitan concrete stack 'em, pack 'em, track 'em jungles. And it's very difficult when you're in one of these Babylonian concrete jungles.
But you know what? We can't feed the whole world though that way. If every family on planet Earth grew their own food, we couldn't feed the whole planet that, Literally, I had a family member tell me that.
Really?
Yeah. It was...
Sounds right.
I was like, you watch way too much CNN because I just heard the most dumbest thing ever come out of your mouth. And, you know, man, I was like, you hurt my brain just saying that.
Several vaccines previously approved for organic production have already been phased out and replaced with vaccines produced through genetic modification. These are organic, y'all. At recent NOSB meetings, accredited organic certifiers revealed that they do not check if the vaccines used violate the prohibition against genetic engineering, even though federal regulations mandate their review.
Regulations. Don't you love
This
them?
is what cracks me up when everybody talks about we need more regulations. We need more government oversight. There has to be more laws, right? It's just an extortion racket.
It is.
And they do
Big time.
what they want.
Do whatever
regardless
the heck they want.
of whatever it says.
Yeah.
They're doing whatever they want.
And they put all those regulations in place because they do whatever the heck they want until we do something. And then they're like, oh, look at that. Yep, lock him up. Yeah, you're breaking the law.
Until they want to club you with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I can't tell, you know, that's why I don't look up laws and crap like that, because I break thousands of laws a day, y'all.
That's
thousands.
true.
You know?
That's true.
And you know what? When I actually break one and, you know, some government gets involved, I'll be like, I didn't know. Sorry. So, you know, I asked for forgiveness.
Yeah, and then
you know?
they'll say, ignorance is not bliss. So we will club you.
Hey, but the one thing that I will tell you right now, call 8100 though. Don't be ignorant about that.
811.
811. Yeah, exactly.
Call 811 before you dig.
Yes, because I was literally 3 inches away from an instant $10,000 being sucked out of my bank account because of a gigantic internet cable that I almost hit with my auger because I was not aware of, like, I don't know. I was, you know, we're out in the country and I'm just making a fence, not even thinking. And my neighbor's driving by and he's like, oh my goodness. He's like, dude, you don't even know. Like, he's like, they will have helicopters circling this place in like a matter of 5 minutes if you hit an internet line. And they come out the next day and he stakes it all off. And I'm not telling you, y'all, this was that straight up hand of God. Okay. It was running perfectly straight, parallel with our property line, right? And I put a post. Okay, there's 2 main internet lines that run along our property line, Ethernet cables, right? And they fiber optic, yeah. And they make a they were running perfectly straight with each other, you know, like maybe an inch gap between. And for some weird, funky reason, they split apart for like a 1 foot gap, and there was probably about 8 inches between them for only about 1 foot, and then they went back together. So it kind of made like a circle, right? And by the hand of God, like straight up, I put my drill bit in between that, and then it hit either of them somehow. And I was debating, I'm like, I should be over here, maybe over there. I'm like, I'll just do it like right here. And and he spray painted it, and he was grinning, laughing, and like, he was like, oh my goodness. He's like, I've never seen it this close. And he literally drew with the spray paint like right around the post. It was nuts. It was the most craziest jacked up stuff.
And for some syrupy irony, we can't get fiber optic internet here at our house, even though it's literally on our property.
It runs right by our house, and we call them, and they're like,
on our property.
No, we can't do it. Sorry.
It is literally on our property.
It's on our property. You have this gigantic box out there under the ground. A manhole that I didn't know about until they came out, and they drive out like a mini excavator just to lift the lid off.
Unless it's like a cover front for like a deep underground military base.
There you go.
That's a possibility.
I should jump down in there and see. No.
You should. What kind of fine will you get? Maybe you'll need a daywalker.
Hey, I might meet a skinwalker going down there, you know? Maybe there'll be like a elevator will take me down. Never see the light of day again.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I think that kind of wraps up.
That's it.
Episode number 6.
What an episode. This was this was an exciting episode.
High flying excitement.
Yeah, we covered a lot of topics, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more guests on the show.
We have guests lined up.
Awesome. Good.
Chomping at the bit.
Great. That is awesome. That's cool. Also, are we actually going to that conference in North Carolina? Do you know what that's called?
I think so. It's
What's that
called Mountain Readiness at the end of October.
Correct.
I want to say it's called October 20th and 21st.
Yeah. Look that
Mountain
up.
Readiness, Hickory, North Carolina.
Go get your tickets now. I'm actually going, Lord willing, for right this second, I'm going to be actually speaking there. I'm going to be a speaker.
Yeah, we got to talk to T, but they want you to be
Yeah.
a speaker there. So
They want me to be a speaker there. So that would be really cool. So we'll keep y'all.
I think it would be cool.
We'll keep y'all up to date on that. But yeah, awesome, exciting stuff. But anyway, y'all, go check out thetexasboys.com if you want to pick up some awesome farm products. And then also remember to leave a review on this podcast if you love it. Also, if you're over on the Fountain app, or if you don't know about the Fountain app, go check it out. It's awesome. You actually make Bitcoin while
Satoshi.
while you're listening to your podcast, and then we're over on the Fountain app too, and then you can actually donate right to our podcast, kind of for free. If you watch all of our podcasts over there, then you can just donate right there. So it's kind of like a win-win. But please remember to leave a review for this podcast. That helps us out tremendously.
All right, y'all. Now remember, stay fearless.
All right, see y'all later.